Sinister, released in 2012, was directed by Scott Derrickson, and it was filmed on a budget of $3 million, roughly, and it went on to gross nearly $80 million. $3 million budget made $80 million, almost $80 million. That, quite the successful movie. So, and as you may guess, there is a sequel. I've not seen the sequel. I have no current plans to see it. Maybe I will. I don't know. I'm sure it's going to be a trilogy or a quadrilogy. So, we'll wait for that one. So, what is Sinister about? So, there's this man. He writes true crime novels. And he takes his family to this house to write his masterpiece novel in his mind. His last two books hadn't done very well. So to him, this is like his last big chance to make a legacy for himself with his book. And they move into this house, and unbeknownst to the family, they're moving into the house where there's like a quadruple homicide. And he doesn't tell them that, of course, because he knows the wife would not like that very much. So they're moving in. The police come down there to watch him move. They let him know that he's not welcome there. They know who he is, and by the nature of what he does in his books, he kind of paints out the police to be incompetent. Like the sheriff in town saying, trying to say, just leave. We don't want you here. Just go. But he doesn't go, of course. So they're packing up. They're not packing up. They're whatever it is. They're moving in. So later on, the crime writer guy, which is portrayed by Ethan Hawke, goes upstairs into the attic. And while he's upstairs in the attic, he finds these old Super 8 films. And he takes them down into his little office area and he watches them. And he sees that they're murders. He finds a box full of these like snuff films up in the attic. And so he thinks about it for a minute. He's about to call the police to say, I found this evidence in my house. But then he doesn't do it. He continues to watch them, and he just wants to write his book. He's seduced by the prospect of making this great book, And so as he's watching these movies, there's like 4 or 5 of them. Like that's when the mystery comes in. Like how did they get there? So he's trying to solve the mystery. And so I don't want to spoil too much about where it goes from there. But this movie is released, everybody says, as a supernatural horror film. And so, but I'm going to cut off there as far as what it's about. He finds a box full of these murders. He doesn't know how they got there. And so that's all I'm going to say is for what it's about. Okay, so what did I like about this movie? And let me just tell you, I liked a significant amount of this movie. The music in it was really cool. I thought the music was great. The production value, like the lighting and the sound design, cinematography, all that was pretty much perfect. The acting was good. Ethan Hawke, you gotta love him. He does really good stuff. A little thing I thought was pretty cool is how they do some scenes and like quick editing, little quick cuts. Kind of reminds me of Edgar Wright, who did the Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, The World's End. And in this movie, and like all the other ones, they do the quick cuts on kind of like little mundane things that aren't very significant at all. For example, he turns on the projector, pours a cup of coffee, and it's just, they do it little quick cuts to just, I don't know, it's just a little neat little aesthetic they do. Okay, and so this is what I liked the most about this movie was the 8mm film reels. It was filmed on real 8mm, and these little snuff films, it just looked really cool, and just they really sold the movie. Um, that was like the coolest thing to me. It was just the little cuts to that. It kind of reminded me of another movie with Nicolas Cage, 8mm, about snuff films, and that to me that's my favorite part of this movie was just their incorporation of those little 8mm film reels, because it just was so gritty and just it was just that really did amp up the creep factor quite a bit. What did I dislike about this film? So I've seen this movie about 2 to 3 times now, and I remember the first time I liked it, but I just liked the first hour or 40 minutes were my favorite, and I didn't like how it kind of concluded in the end. And so now I'm seeing it, I kind of know what to expect now, and it's the same kind of thing. I like the opening of the movie. I like kind of the middle where it starts investigating, but once they start explaining everything, that's when I don't like it quite as much. I would like it better if they didn't explain the origins of everything. I don't particularly like the supernatural aspects of the movie. Like, for me, like the first 40 minutes are the best. That's when I'm most invested with it. He finds the movies, he's watching them, he's investigating them. That's my favorite part of this movie. Once they start explaining it and all the supernatural elements come into play, I don't like it quite as much. I still like it, but I think I would have liked it more if they kept it with the kind of like they did with 8mm. It wasn't supernatural at all. I don't like the supernatural parts of this movie. Having said that, I've seen it a couple times now, and it doesn't bother me quite as much. It's better when you expect it and you know where it's going to go. And this movie kind of reminds me of The Ring a lot as well, which makes sense because evidently the director was inspired by The Ring. So, and another thing I didn't quite like about this movie was there was a cop in this movie. It's like he's the comedic relief. It's such a serious movie in tone all throughout. Then when he kind of steps in there, I don't know, it doesn't really seem to fit very well with the rest of the movie. And so let's say if I had to give this movie a rating scale of 1 out of 10 or 0 out of 10, I'm gonna say 8 out of 10, because I think it's a really good movie overall. I just don't really like the supernatural explanations and all that. I think it would have been cooler if it was just like a murder mystery. And that's my personal opinion. And there you go. So that was Sinister. I liked it. I actually like it a little bit more the more I've seen it, because I guess the initial disappointment of the supernatural aspects has kind of diminished a little bit. Now I just can just watch it for what it is, and it's actually a very good horror movie. And so I know there's a sequel. I haven't seen it, and so I think I need to check it out and see what it's like. I've heard good and bad, but so that's it. That's Sinister. 8 out of 10. I would recommend you see it. Thank you.